What's up, YouTube? We are back to show you the screen change on this RCA tablet. It's a little bit more economical tablet, which usually means that the repair is a little bit simpler. There's not as many parts to this particular tablet. We can actually replace just the screen on this one. The digitizer is what's broken, the glass piece that's underneath the glass that responds to touch. So we'll be using a suction cup, couple of pry tools to open this, a Phillips head screwdriver, and possibly a heat gun. We have our new replacement glass here. You can see that we have one ribbon cable that we'll have to be careful of on this, and there is a camera in the upper left hand corner of the screen, which we'll need to be careful of when we're removing it as well. So since the glass is not broken, we can use a suction cup. If the glass is broken, the exterior glass, then you may need to use just the pry tools to pull it out. I usually try to use a suction cup to help keep the frame. So the Phillips head screwdriver, what we'll do is remove the two screws on the side here. It's on the power button volume side of the tablet. Go ahead and remove both of those two screws. We have a couple of our pry tools here, these opening tools. We'll go ahead and use this to open the tablet, just inserting it down the side here. You'll hear it unclick and just snap out. Just kind of clipping it all the way through. Now you don't want to pull the back off all the way very fast. There's a speaker on the bottom that's glued into the back that's actually soldered onto the logic board of this tablet. So we're not going to actually remove it. And since we're just replacing the screen on this one, we're actually just going to remove the digitizer cable from the front glass here. This is really all that we need to remove off this tablet for this particular repair. We'll go ahead and just pull back this little piece of tape here. You can see there's a nice open hole here. We can put the new digitizer ribbon cable through, so we won't have to remove the logic board as well, which is very nice for an easy repair on this particular tablet. We're going to go ahead and just pop up the little black connector here. Just pull it forward, and that'll detach the ribbon cable for us. Now, since we can't remove the back off this, I don't want to take the speaker out and unsolder it from the board or have to re-glue it back in there. We're just going to go ahead and just leave it in there, and we'll just do this repair with it kind of free floating on top of the rear housing of the particular tablet. So I'm just going to shut it and flip it over. Now we're not going to re-snap it into place, but we're just going to leave it open. So what we're going to try to do first is try to just put the suction cup on here and try to pull the glass away from the frame and see if we get any separation. If we don't, we're going to have to use a little bit of heat. Just going to snap it down and pull back on it here. I'm just using my force against the frame and pulling back on the glass here. See if we can get some separation. There's a little bit, but really not enough to get it where we want it to be. Now there's no concern about damaging the LCD on this, as they're not connected. There's no optical clear adhesive holding them together. They're two completely separate pieces. We're going to use a little bit of heat on this tablet. We want to be careful when we're using a heat gun like this. My heat gun I'm currently using only has two temperatures, either 500 or 900 degrees. So I'm going to put it on the lower setting. If you could possibly use a hairdryer to do this as well. I don't want to get it extremely hot. In fact, I don't want to get it too hot, as the plastic bezel around the glass could melt when we're trying to separate it. And I want to make sure that we get this repair done right. So we're just going to heat it up. We're just going to keep touching it until it feels nice and warm. We don't want it to be to the point where it's going to melt the harder plastic, but we definitely want to heat up the adhesive a little bit, make it a little bit easier for us to pull the glass off of the frame. It's feeling a little bit warmer there, so we should be pretty good. Let's put our suction cup back on here, and we're just going to pull it away and see if we get more separation here. Give it a nice good tug. We're getting a little bit, but it looks like it's kind of seeping back in. Alright, we got to pull away. I'm just going to put our little pry tool underneath here and see if we can't get some leverage underneath. Now, like I was saying, what's really busted or broken on this tablet is the actual digitizer. So you have your glass on top, then you have the digitizer between the glass and the LCD, and then the LCD is the last layer. On this particular one, it's the middle layer that's broken, so we can use our suction cup to help pull this off. We're getting some decent separation here. We're just going to keep pulling it. The more you use the suction cup, we'll get the glue to pull back just a little bit more and more. Now, the thing that's tricky with this particular tablet is that the glass is glued to the digitizer, and the place where it actually adheses to the frame is actually with the digitizer itself. So you'll see a little bit of a flap. I'm pulling it right back here with my finger. There's a flap of the kind of the top portion, the laminated portion, the glass portion. And you can see how thick this is. Now, the actual glue is on the digitizer that's underneath that first flap. So when you're starting to remove this screen, you're going to have to get a decent amount of separation before you can get your pry tool underneath there. I'll use a pry tool to start off with. I would suggest using a playing card. I'm just going to use a piece of cut-up gift card. I always have this lying around. You can use a guitar pick or a plastic razor blade. Any of those things will function. See how I got it pretty far in there? And now we're underneath the digitizer and the glass. Little piece of broken glass there. And I'm just going to use this little piece of gift card to kind of cut through the glass. I'm just going to slide it down. I'm going to work with this for a little bit now. That way I don't damage the frame. You can use like an iSesamo opening tool. I wouldn't suggest using a razor blade on this as well. Since there's no real clear optical adhesive between the LCD and the glass, you could technically damage your LCD with a tougher opening tool like a spudger or something like that. So I'm just going to use this gift card. You can use a playing card as well, but you may need to use a little bit more heat to get it to unadhere from the frame. I'm just going to slide this one in now that we've got some separation going on. Keep the first one in there to make sure that we keep the glass from re-adhesing itself back into the frame. And the frame also has a pretty deep bezel as well, a couple millimeters in, so you'll have to insert your pry tool down deeper and then push it through. And every time you hit a crack that's into the corner of the glass, you'll hit a new layer of where you actually have to re-dig into the tablet or the LCD to get the pry tool in there to cut through the tape a little bit further. I'm just kind of cutting through until I get the separation that I'm looking for. Just going to push it on through. There we go. Now we can see that the glue is all cut all the way through. Alright. Just going to pull it back here and take a look. See if we can't just pull it off a little bit more, give us a little bit more room. Normally when it's this fractured or shattered, you'll have to pull off a large amount of the LCD before it starts pulling away. If it was in one piece, it might start to pull off right now. We'll just work our way down the sides of the LCD. Again, using that cut-up gift card. It might actually be easier to use a plastic razor blade that you can find off of eBay, a couple of bucks, or Amazon, as they have a little bit sharper or thinner point. Might help you get down past some of these crack points. So our adhesive is starting to set back up, so we're just going to put a little bit more heat on here. Now, when you're using a gift card like I'm doing, the problem with the heat is it actually makes and melts your gift card a little bit. So if you're using that, you may have to use a new piece of gift card or whatever card you're using to help pry it off. Just going to get it nice and warm. I don't want to get it too hot. I want to get it to melting point again, like I was saying, but I do want to warm it up enough where the adhesive starts to loosen. Alright, now that we've warmed it up a little bit, we're just going to go ahead and try to slide our tool down. This is a really shattered portion of the screen here. This would be the trickiest part, is where you have all these fractures down the side. I'm going to stick my little piece in. I'm just going to pull it up as we go down the side. The goal is to get the glass to lift off. Now you don't want to get in between the glass itself and the digitizer. You'll see that it almost kind of looks like electrical tape when you do. It's not very thick. You want to make sure you just keep underneath the glass or the glass digitizer on the sides. That thicker piece that runs all the way through. Try a pry tool here. I'm going to use my Disassembly tool just a little bit in the video to help pull up this tricky part. I'm going to try to work my way down this other side. If I get stuck on one side, I'll try the other and see if I can make the room that I'm looking for, and then kind of come back to that last side instead of getting frustrated. I don't want to damage the LCD. It'd be a waste of my time. The actual Digitizer glass replacement combination was only like $15. It had to come from China though, so it took a little bit of time to get here. So I got my FanX wristband on. I got back from FanX today. The Fan Experience Comic-Con, pretty sweet. Saw Carl from The Walking Dead. I'm just going to use my Disassembly tool here just to get a little bit more leverage under some of the glass that's being a little bit trickier. Now, I don't want to put this too deep into it. I don't want to use it a lot. As I was saying, I don't want to damage the bezel or the LCD of this particular tablet. Now, if it was in one piece and didn't really care, now I use it a lot more. Definitely a lot easier to use a metal opening tool than a plastic. Trying to work a little bit further down. There we go. We're making great progress down the side of the tablet now. As you start to round this corner, you want to be a little bit careful of the camera. We're going to try to pull our opening tool out just a little bit and curve just around the outside of it and put it back in underneath the adhesive. Now this next little portion here, you can see this is where the impact started. This shatter point is going to be a little bit difficult here as well. There's many pieces that are shattered. I'll have to start the process of kind of getting back underneath the glass here again as well. See, it's starting to readhere itself on the side. So I'm going to put some pieces of my pry tool under here. Just try to make sure it doesn't readhere itself. Our glue is starting to set again. It's starting to get a little bit trickier, so we're just going to heat it up and see if we can't get a little bit better leverage underneath the LCD here now. Or under the glass. I keep saying LCD. It's not an assembly. This is glass and a digitizer. Alright, got it a little bit warmer. You can see how flimsy that little piece of gift card is. I'll have to switch it out. We'll start with a new piece. See if we can't get some leverage under here and get this side to start pulling up for me. There we go. Looks like I'm actually underneath just the glass and not the actual part of the digitizer, so I'll have to start back here from the beginning. Just not making progress. It does not want to give me that option to get underneath it. I'm going to use a metal spudger just down the side of the bezel and not onto the LCD. See if we can get some leverage on it this way as well. Pull it back a little bit. Try to pull off the glass. Now if you get it to a point where you're almost done, you can usually just start to pull it away, and that will make it a little bit easier on you. I'm just trying to slide this down and cut the glue underneath the glass here on this side. These two parts are where the most shattered part of the screen. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. I'm just going to try to use a little bit of force to pull it away. Not a lot, so I don't want to damage the LCD, but let's just see there. Got a little bit of force going. Starting to make a little bit more progress here. Just slide it down the side. See if I can't get that glass to loosen from the glue. It's just really shattered and can't get the leverage I'm looking for. I'm going to use this metal spudger and put it down just the side of the bezel. If you're going to use a metal spudger, make sure it's not wider than the bezel. You don't want it to overlap onto the LCD. You don't want to scratch it. So be very careful if you're going to use a metal tool. No, just turn it back on. So you can definitely see that the actual screen's still working. I probably pushed on the power button for so long in the volume button, I probably put it into recovery. Oh, there we go, yep. Alright, now we're right to the point where the actual ribbon cable to the digitizer is going to be. I'm not too concerned about it, but just so you're aware, it's just right there in the corner. Alright, our glass has been removed. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and clean up the sides of the frame. It's going to try to power this off. There we go. We need to clean up the glue down the sides of the frame. Got a little piece of glass here. The goal is you want to make sure that this is very clean before you install our new glass onto it. So what I'm going to actually take and do is take some alcohol and just a cleaning cloth. Try to scrape as much of this off. I just use a 90% or 90% alcohol. That really seems to pull this glue off of these frames pretty easy. A lot of people will try to sell you glue for adhesive. It's really not that difficult just to use alcohol. So I'm going to just go ahead and clean this up as we go around. Make sure we clean off all the fragments of digitizer that are still left on the LCD screen. You can see that it's kind of sparkly. We're going to make sure that the LCD is nice and clean before we put our new glass on. Just using a microfiber cleaning cloth, kind of trying to dust it all off. And like I was saying, we'll use some alcohol to help wipe down the adhesive. If you want to watch the reassembly video of the LCD, go ahead and click the link in the bottom right hand corner. And we'll go ahead and re-put the glass on. If you think you can do without it, then don't worry about it. Thanks for watching the video again. Hit the like button if I helped you out. Thanks, you guys.